Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Verity Seeker, and I'm the host, Mark Powles. Yesterday was the November 2nd, 2021 off-year election, and mostly this was local elections, school boards, commissioners, positions like that. Most of the time people believe that these are nonsensical. I mean, they're unimportant positions. But I have to differ with that position. These are some of the most important elections of all because they are local elections. These are the elections that affect your life directly and can cause great misery for you if you get the wrong people in there. If you get the right people in there and you have concerns about the U.S. general government being a problem and creating mandates that are unconstitutional, internally in your state, if you have good government in your state government and your local government, there will be no problem. They will protect you because they understand that your state has a constitution. And here in Kansas, we have 20 declarations in our Bill of Rights. So that's something to think about. Your states are the fourth and final check and balance on an out-of-control U.S. general government. So your local elections are extremely important. And there's a lot of indoctrination happening in our local schools and our colleges and universities. We have to get control of this. And the only way to do that is not through the federal government, but from the bottom up. Get your own house in order, and the U.S. general government will not be a problem. We have a real issue understanding. We have a real problem understanding that that's how the system of federalism works. And they don't want us to get that understanding. So please change your way of thinking. Think locally, act locally, and these problems will work themselves out. Trust me. Okay. I ran for our local school board, USD 365. I did lose the election yesterday along with a friend of mine, Kevin Gunnar Cowley. Both of us served in the military. I'm retired military. He's out of the military. We both have been put in leadership positions. We're highly qualified for being on a school board, probably overqualified. But we thought it would be our duty to run against two of the incumbents that were up for election. There were three, and we ran against two that were in our districts. What I want to do today is I need to respond to a letter, a private Facebook message that was sent out by Gayleen Comfort, she is a school board in the USD 365 school district, and she's not up for election. She was not one of the three, but she was president of the USD 365 school board when I submitted a petition with 122 signatures demanding that the mask and social distancing mandates be removed from their policy. It was a demand, and I can show that petition in this podcast. But a week before the election, on November 2nd, she sent this out. It was supposed to be through a private group. Unfortunately for her, I don't think I was supposed to get this, but it leaked out via someone who did not agree with her comments, because this particular person who leaked it to me knows me personally and happens to know the truth. You can't just carelessly defame someone's character. You have to be very careful. during a campaign, if you have the facts on somebody or you have a problem with the way decisions that somebody made, and it's obvious that those decisions were made, I mean, that stuff's public, that's not defamation of character. You're pointing out a flaw in their public service. You're not dealing with their character. There's a difference. What was written in this letter is defamation of character. Now, I don't sue people, but I forgive these people. They don't know what they're doing, but I am going to respond to what she said because the record needs to be set straight. This thing is filled full of misinformation and misdirection. So here we go. This is Galen Comfort, USD 365 board member, a week or so before the election on November 2nd, and I was the target. Here we go. Hi, friends. You might be surprised to get this from me. It's not my usual mode of communication. This is an important topic, though, and I'd like to ask you to read what I have to say. Next week is an important election. There are no state or national offices up for election. The contests are all local. In our community, this includes school board elections. Historically, voter turnout is low for these local elections. I'm asking you to help me counteract that trend for this election. Please go vote. I want to talk to you about some topics surrounding the USD 365 Board of Education election this year. You may have seen the Anderson County Review article about the school board election forum arranged by Malone LaVey Truth in Garnett. I believe some of the issues raised in the article need to be addressed. The forum was at best a faux forum. The location and organizers were not neutral. Incumbent board members were not invited to the forum until only 3 days before the event. And the invitation was merely a phone voicemail. This was not an oversight. By delaying invitations, the organizers could make a point that incumbents were invited but chose not to come. The organizers did not admit that their event was so unprofessionally planned that it was nearly guaranteed that only their point of view would be presented. Well, I can tell you that since no one showed except for the two challengers, of course, you only got one side because we were the only ones answering those questions. And it was 2 hours of questions. We didn't know what the questions were until they were asked. And it was actually a very good forum. But we just didn't get the incumbents' position because they decided they weren't going to show up. Anyway, here is my response to those comments. Wow. So here's the truth. I personally questioned members of Malone LaVey Truth, by the way, an activist group that I openly support because they're trying to bring truth to the forefront on everything. I asked them when and how they notified the candidates upon reading this leaked message. Their first public invitation went out on social media just under a month in advance of the event. Then in the Anderson County Review 2 weeks prior to the event. I saw the invitation on Facebook and immediately responded to the invitation. And when I contacted members of Malone LaVey Truth to see if any incumbents responded, their answer was no. Members of Malone LaVey Truth told me it was unusually difficult to find school board member contact information and that they were not prepared for that part. So they had to get their telephone numbers from the Anderson County Clerk's office. Of course, we now know that you can get their information from the USD 365 board office, but they didn't know that before. They then called Sonia Martin, Michael Richards, and Gina Witherspoon by phone on the Monday before the public forum, according to the Malone LaVey Truth member I spoke with. Now, that was 5 days before the event. Remember, she said 3 days. So they had it on Facebook for at least a month. They had it in the newspaper, the local newspaper, 2 weeks out. And then when they weren't responding, they tried calling, and so they could speak to them personally and invite them. The incumbents either said they had other commitments or didn't answer their phone at all, or Malone LaVey Truth had to leave a message recording on their answering machine. Malone LaVey Truth seemed very public about their invitations and even went to the county clerk to get telephone numbers when there was no response from the newspaper or the social media announcements. Rumors in Anderson County, Kansas, spread very quickly, and I personally am shocked that these 3 incumbents didn't have access to the local newspaper. They didn't notice the forum circulating on social media, or they didn't talk to anyone in the county where news travels very fast. This forum was not a faux. In other words, it wasn't fake like she said. That's a lie. The location was and still is neutral. I am the custodian at First Christian Church where this event was held, and by the way, the church is not affiliated with any event that goes on in there. They simply lease the building, which is adjacent to the sanctuary. Okay, as the custodian, I'm tasked with setting up for events per the demands of the party leasing the facility, because that's my job. The location was neutral, and I was elated that Malone LaVey Truth thought it was important enough to organize a 2-hour questioning of all candidates running for school board, because no one else was doing it, and it was getting close to the election. The questioning was to the point, and no one knew what the questions were going to be until that night. Okay, now Galen continues. Candidate Mark Powles made much of a petition he circulated in the summer of 2020 regarding masks in schools. Such petitions are legally called advisory petitions, and as such, understood to be the participant's opinion. There is no legal obligation for the board to make or change policy based on an advisory petition. At the same time, board members also received input from parents, students, and teachers in favor of precautions like masking. The board carefully considered both sides of the issue. Last year, facing many unknowns, the board's most significant concern for the 2020-2021 school year was to do everything possible to get students back in the classroom and keep them there as long as possible. Parents and teachers all agreed that the months out of the classroom and in virtual learning were not beneficial to students. The board's goal was to get the kids safely back in school. Social distancing, masks, and other precautions were implemented based on the recommendations of state authorities, local health professionals, and the most up-to-date information available at the time. Well, we know who those people are. Okay, here's my response. Shutting down our schools, masking students, teachers, and staff against their will, and social distancing was a violation of every individual who knew what was really going on and disagreed with these mandates. Oh my goodness. The term advisory petition is yet another legal word created out of thin air by attorneys who know nothing about our constitutions, and they use legal verbiage to gain control over our system of government by circumventing original understanding and intent of our constitutions. Petitions for a redress of grievance is a right that is protected in both the U.S. and Kansas constitutions. Every duly elected school board member swears an oath to their Kansas Constitution and U.S. Constitution. And the statutes, acts, mandates, resolutions, and other procedural laws must be pursuant to our constitutions as written and ratified. We do not swear an oath to obey statutes or legal documents, especially when they are not pursuant to the Constitution they swore an oath to. Don't forget that. Okay, we do not swear an oath to obey statutes or legal documents. We obey them as procedural and or pursuant to said constitutions. Now let me define the word redress, because we go over these words. We have a right to petition a redress of grievance. Now, no one thinks about what's a redress. What does that mean? We know what a grievance is. What's redress? Redress, here's a definition. To set right an undesirable situation. Provide a remedy to make amends to. That's a redress. Now, if I submit a petition for a redress of grievances to a school board, does that sound like an advisory petition? Or does it sound like we're petitioning for a remedy for our grievances? You see how they dress up these words? They have these attorneys and they tell them these things to try to circumvent around what the Constitution actually demands. Contractually, board members and other public officials swear an oath to constitutions. They don't swear oaths to statutes or legal verbiage or resolutions. All of these things must be pursuant to what they took an oath to. That is superior to all other documents or verbiage or, acts. There's a reason why they call it an act. It's literally an act, especially if it's not pursuant to their constitution. Okay. Furthermore, many teachers, students, staffers, and parents had serious issue with the mask mandates, social distancing, and Zoom classes, and anyone paying for education via taxation was cheated out of a good education for their child because some chose fear over common sense and willful ignorance to the real facts that were being censored at every turn since March 2020. Actually, I don't believe our board considered both sides and simply chose to go along with the CDC, a governor with unconstitutional powers, and the advice of unelected local health professionals who were just fine not hearing the facts being presented by thousands of other doctors in the scientific and medical industry throughout this agenda-driven crisis. Okay, she continues. Candidate Mark Powles keeps talking about masks, perhaps because he has been a vocal opponent. But the school board has moved on. The mask requirement was retired in May 2021 and was not reinstated for the 2021 to 2022 school year. Yet Mr. Powles keeps going on about it. Why? Perhaps because he wants to use the non-issue to serve his political ambitions instead of considering the welfare of our local students. Okay, here's my response. This is an inaccurate assumption designed to hide the truth. I don't want the public to forget what happened to us and our children from March 2020 to May 2021. To ensure this history never gets repeated again in our local public schools, city, and county. Isn't this the real reason we teach accurate history to our children? And she continues, curriculum is a difficult issue, heavily influenced by state authorities and education professors found in colleges and universities. Your local school board members are just average citizens with a passion for our kids and their schools. They have tried to make decisions about programs and curricula that match our local needs and avoid controversial, trendy, politically motivated programs found in larger, wealthier school districts. Oh my. Here is my response to that. I agree, curriculum is a difficult task, but not an issue. If promoting classical education over the John Dewey influence and placing education over non-education activities. I'm just an average person too. And my passion is that we need to be educating our children as if our future depends on it, and that's why reforms are necessary, and fear is not something we should be teaching, especially when truth is being censored and masks are being forced on people for no logical reason. As for the last sentence in your previous paragraph, there is nothing trendy, controversial, or politically motivated about promoting a need to reform our local public schools to be pursuant to our Kansas Constitution. She continues, unlike Mark Powell's, the incumbent school board members have not recently run for partisan political office. I ran for House representative in my district in the Republican primary of 2020 amidst COVID-19. So that's what she's referring to. She continues, they do not have political ambitions, nor do they intend to use our local kids in schools as a platform or springboard for future politics. Okay, I've made it clear in my various campaigns that I would prefer to spend time trying to keep my little non-essential business above ground and spend time with my family rather than to run for public office. Anyone who actually cares to know the truth about me understands why I keep running for public office, and it's not for my personal pleasure. I ran for school board because our public schools are not operating pursuant to our Kansas Constitution, and the policies of 2020 and 2021 hurt our children, our staff, our teachers, and the parents, not to mention the lack of real education that occurred during this period. If I run for another public office, it's because I have no other choice. If someone like me doesn't step up, who will? She continues, the current school board members show up to meetings and make the essential and sometimes difficult decisions about running our local school district. Neither of the candidates running for the contested school board positions have taken the time to educate themselves on the business of the district by showing up to a single board meeting in recent history. Don't you think someone interested in becoming a school board member might do something as basic as attending a few meetings to familiarize themselves with the issues facing the board? This has not happened. My response, the public was not elected. You were. Furthermore, I have an unusually intimate relationship with USD 365, and I know all I need to know about the inner workings of our Board of Education. My two daughters went through the USD 365 system. My wife teaches in this district, and I continue to assist teachers within this system to ensure their needs are administered for when the system fails them. I taught music and fought in this district, so I know all I need to know about what goes on inside these schools and what needs to be reformed. You see, people forget history. I used to be a teacher in USD 365. And I fought for something important to the taxpayers during that time, and I sacrificed my job to stand for the truth. Also, I'm confused why people like candidate Kevin Gunnar Cowley and I are deemed unprofessional or lacking the skills needed to maintain, develop, and operate our public schools, even though both of us have extensive leadership training and skills via the military, such as training in nuclear, biological, chemical warfare defense, logistics, squad leader assignments, and other leadership experiences that none of our current Board of Education members have done that I know of. Yet, in order to qualify to be a school board member, Galen Comfort wants us to attend school board meetings instead of doing maintenance on our homes, working a job, or spending time with our families. I'm going to take the latter over these school board meetings. Gunnar and I ran for these school board positions because someone had to. That's what we do as veterans. Not because we wanted to, but because we were called to that duty, and we most certainly are qualified to be USD 365 Board of Education representatives. Okay, she continues. A common woe of school boards, including ours, is low community and parental involvement. The school board can go months without parents or community members visiting school board meetings. For example, while Mr. Powell's, she's so respectful, while Mr. Powell's described the board as ignoring his petition, neither he nor a single person who signed the petition came to a meeting in the fall of 2020 to speak to the board about this issue. By the way, there was a teacher who supported the petition. She spoke in front of the board, and yes, she did put on the mask, even though she was speaking against the mask mandates. She was a teacher in the district. She supported the petition. Okay? Now here's my response. I had planned to appear in front of this almighty magistrate we call the USD 365 Board of Education, but my non-compliance to the mask mandate prohibited me from doing so. This board wanted me to put on the mask to earn the right to exercise my right of redress of grievance against the mask and social distancing mandates in USD 365. See how they do this? They want you to show that your beliefs against the mask really aren't important enough that you'll refuse to wear it under any circumstances. I cannot comply, and I will not wear a mask just to earn the right to stand in front of these people to fight against the mask. You see how illogical that is? And they're trying to get people to do that. Every time they get somebody to do that, to wear that mask, to petition against the mask, they are proving that your belief and your conviction is not strong enough, and you've lost. These people are not stupid. That's why they have attorneys there to help them out. Don't comply under any circumstance. Okay. She continues. Every school board meeting has a public comments time designed to serve as a listening session for board members to hear from parents and the community. Board members and the district superintendent have public email addresses which are available from the USD 365 office. We know that now. Okay, here is my response to that. If you want people to come to your board meetings for support and guidance, you could have invited me by phone, text, or email. Being a board member is not an extracurricular sport for entertainment and fun. The last thing most parents want to do is sit in a chair watching a group of oligarchs maintain business as usual. Most working class parents have little time they want to waste watching board meetings. If you can't maintain, develop, and operate our schools without the attendance of parents and taxpayers, then step down and let somebody else do it. She continues, your school board members are not perfect. But with everything that has occurred over the past year and all the uncertainties, they have tried their level best to do the right thing for our students and schools. My response: correct. No one is perfect, but many of us in the community were attempting to address this board for a redress of grievance by demanding that the mask and social distancing be removed from the USD 365 Board of Education policy very early on, and you did not listen. That doesn't sound to me like a school board that cared to do the right thing based on the facts that were trying to surface through all of the censorship that continues yet today. By the way, I find it amazing how this killer virus, COVID-19, suddenly vanished in May of 2021 at the end of the school year, kind of like pneumonia and influenza did in 2020. So, where did it go? COVID-19 didn't kill vast numbers of children, but we certainly had an increase in suicidal tendencies that led to unnecessary deaths in Kansas. I think I know the answer, but I'll just let the voters ponder that thought. The next question we should ask is, how is this USD 365 Board of Education going to respond when the next big virus threat, climate scam, or economic collapse is unleashed upon us? Would you give us the same knee-jerk, one-size-fits-all, tyrannical response we got in 2020 to 21? Or a common-sense approach like a Kevin Gunnar Cowley will give? Will our curriculum be revised to weed out United Nations agendas, union influences, social engineering tactics, progressive revisionist history ideology, and the inaccurate understanding of American government? Or will we continue along the current trajectory towards social justice programming, communism, and compliance to a one-world order of tyranny and loss of individual liberty? She continues. Many people do not realize that regardless of where you live in our district, you will vote for all the school board positions up for election. I know that Sonia Martin, Mike Richards, and Genia Witherspoon have been competent and effective school board members. I would please encourage you to vote for them this coming Tuesday, November 2nd. In-person advance voting is also available in the Anderson County Clerk's office this Thursday, Friday, and next Monday. If going to the polls next Tuesday doesn't work for you, this is an off-year election, and a small number of votes can decide the outcome. Sure can. And it did. Please share this information with your family and friends who are eligible to vote in our district. Thank you for voting. Galen Comfort, USD 365 Board of Education member. Now, I have one more that I want to address here, and I don't have this written out, but I do want to read it to you. Now, this was another one that was leaked to me on Facebook. And I just want, this was actually written by Gayla Corley. And she obviously has an inaccurate understanding of the past. And it's just so easy to create information or misinformation for people to digest if you want to defame somebody's character without a way for anyone to prove or disprove what she just said. Now, I can disprove it, but it's basically her word against mine. No one witnessed this, okay, except her, I guess. Okay, It says here, I encourage everyone to get out and vote in this very important election for District 365. I really do not know Gunnar Cowley's reasons for running for school board as he lives near Richmond. Actually, he lives in the district and he has a right to run. Okay? He does have a son in high school, but I do not know if he goes to Anderson County High School or Central Heights High School. So don't mention it. If you don't know what you're talking about, Gayla, don't bring it up because you don't have the information. You have no clue what the truth is here. So why bring it up? He has a right to run for this particular elected position for USD 365. Done. Period. Okay, then she comes after me. Mark Powell's is another story. He has not been to a school board meeting to see how the board operates. Gayla, I do not need to. If you know my history and my intimate relationship with USD 365 over many years, you would know the truth, and you would know that I know a lot of things about USD 365. I've been here and seen boards of education be completely wiped out because of what happened with the school bond issue, along with the entire administration because of what they did here in Anderson County. I lost my job. My assistant lost her job. Two great elementary principals lost their jobs. We all sacrificed our livelihood in order to tell the truth and to warn the public taxpayers about corruption. So don't tell me I don't know much about the USD 365 Board of Education. As a matter of fact, you need somebody like me on the Board of Education. The problem is nobody wants to listen to the truth, and they can't handle the truth, and therefore they're scared of people like me. They want to keep the status quo. Both my daughters are out of this system now. My problem is that they're stealing money from me and my business via property taxes to cover the expenses of wasteful things in this school, things I don't agree with. And I'm not the only one. She goes on, and this is where, oh my gosh. Okay, he has not been to the board meetings. Okay, she mentions that. Prior to the 2020-2021 school term, he carried a petition against the students and teachers wearing face masks at school. However, he would not go to the school board meeting and discuss it was my petition, even though parents were wanting me to write a petition. Parents were contacting me, wanting me to do this. So I did it out of duty for them, and I wanted to represent them and my daughter. And of course, my wife who teaches. No, these people did not want the mask and social distancing. They knew what was going on, but they fear for their jobs. The kids fear, we've got teachers that highly promoted the masks, okay? So they were afraid too. Students aren't going to speak up in school. They do it outside of school. He carried a petition against the students and teachers wearing face masks at school. However, he would not go to the school board meeting and discuss his petition or present his ideas and concerns. The reasons. He would have been asked to wear a mask at the meeting like everyone else. To me, it says he doesn't think too much of his ideas and issues to come up before the board. Actually, that's ridiculous. Actually, my convictions are so strong that I refuse to comply under any circumstance. And I will go down in flames before I will comply with something I so strongly believe in. What she said here is a contradiction, and it's a lie. Sorry, Gayla. you're a liar. Okay, so, next page. I have other issues with him. Okay, I mean, this is I mean, it's just defamation of character. She doesn't know me. Okay, I have other issues with him, as in the 1990 to 1991 school year, Mark Powell's taught band at Garnett High School. When I went to parent-teacher conference, he told me my daughter, who was in band and a junior that year, should quit. Ooh, wow. Should quit band. I would tell a junior in high school, a high school student in a junior, to quit band. Okay? I don't know what to say. I don't know how to respond to that. Okay? There'd have to be a really good reason for me to tell a student to quit band. And people that know me and know me as a music band director and choral director, I don't know where she's getting this. This is ridiculous. Okay? But, you know, I can't prove this. And she knows it. It's her word against mine. And she can just say whatever she wants. Okay. She had been in band since the 4th grade and also was in the FFA state band 2 years because of her ability to play a saxophone. Yeah. Proud of her. She could play the alto, soprano, and the bass saxophone. So she did understand music and her instrument. She's kind of expanding things, and that's fine. Okay. That was the only time I have ever been to a board meeting concerning a teacher. So there are things here that I don't even understand or recollect. And, you know, I'd be honest about it. If I told somebody to quit band, I would remember that. Okay? Serious. Think about who you vote for, and I encourage you to vote incumbent. Okay? Now, I don't mind people campaigning for the people they like, but don't ever lie about me. Don't ever defame my character. You don't do that. Now, I know the people that have written this stuff personally. And I attend church. There are people that hate me where I attend church. They hate me enough to say things like this. And I've never done anything to them. And I won't. She's forgiven. But I am going to stand my ground, and I am going to defend my position and correct the defamation that's been presented here. And that's my right to do that. And I'm naming names. This is on Facebook. So the election's over. I lost the election. It's behind me, and I'm okay with that. Losing an election, this is what I always tell people, losing an election is not a defeat. It's not a loss. It's progress. That's the way I will always see or perceive a lost election. Not everybody thinks the same, okay, when they run for office. I think of running for office probably quite differently than most people who seek an office in government. I honestly do not want to be a professional politician. I do not want to serve in public office. I'm saying this for the record again. I have other things in my life that I want to do. I'll be turning 61 in April of 2022. This is the last thing I want to do. But I have a lot of knowledge And for some reason, I've attained this knowledge over time. I've just kind of been forced into it. And if I don't use it in a time of need, then I feel like I've done something wrong and I haven't fulfilled my purpose. Okay? If I lose an election, it was meant to be. So that's the way I look at it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to quit. I'm going to keep doing this because it gives people an opportunity to think about the things that are wrong with the way we're doing government. Okay, we are off the rails, but it doesn't matter whether I'm on the inside or outside. There's still ways of affecting change, and we all need to understand that you don't need to be inside government to affect change. You need knowledge. Okay, you need to understand your constitutions. You need to understand your state constitution. You need to understand the U.S. General Constitution and what's the proper relationship of these two governments. One is sovereign. Which one? Your state. Your state is your country. It is a sovereign country. We just call it a state. The U.S. general government, that federal thing that we focus on all the time, it is a general government that is supposed to be extremely limited, and it is not supposed to be interfering with intrastate affairs. That's your state government's job. Okay? When they're doing that, when they're interfering with intrastate affairs, they need to be ignored. And you need to make sure that your elected representatives know that. It is that simple. They're doing things that they're not supposed to do. Now, the way to fix that, if you notice, you have no effect on what they do. No matter how much you complain, you cannot change it. The people you elect go in there, they can't change it. The way you change it is you get your own state in order. You elect the right people to your boards of education. You elect the right people to your city and county commissions. Okay, you elect your House representative for your district. You make sure you get somebody in there that's an originalist thinker, a constitutionalist, not one of these conservative neocons or some lefty. Okay? The remedy is there, and we're going to have to work to get it. All right? Well, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my reading of these comments. I appreciate it, and I look forward to our next podcast. Thank you very much. This is Verity Seeker. I'm Mark Powles, signing off.